I got a Facebook message from a guy named Saul asking me if I could make a video about the topic of being bald versus having hair. His message said, "Great hair videos. Could you do one on how people treat you differently from being bald versus having hair?" I thought about this topic recently because it seems like people, girls in particular, are much friendlier to me now that I'm not bald anymore. I'm guessing maybe Saul had a hair transplant or is wearing a wig or who knows what he's doing, but somehow Saul has hair again. If this is true, a hair transplant really does have a profound effect. And I noticed your look with hair versus bald has improved drastically. No offense, you still look like a decent guy bald, but now you could probably be spotted in the crowd in a good way. Well, thank you, Saul. When I was much younger and much more bald, I really didn't mind being bald. I was quite confident as a person and as myself, but I really didn't like the way that I could very clearly notice people reacting to me differently because I was a guy who was going bald. So it wasn't so much an internal thing as it was external. And I've noticed a lot of people on YouTube and in comments saying things like, oh, you know, if you're a real alpha male and you really have confidence, then you should just shave your head. Just shave your head, get it over with, and go to the gym, and girls will still like you, and going bald won't have any negative effect on you whatsoever if you're a real guy with a real confidence. And the thing is that from experience, I don't think this is true. I've always been a pretty fit guy. I used to be actually much more muscular, and I've always been a really confident person, but there is a huge difference in the way people react to me, especially girls, as Saul mentioned, when I've got hair versus being bald. I've told this story before, but it was a real moment for me that changed my mind in terms of realizing that I wanted to do something about the fact that I was going bald and that I looked like a guy who was going bald. I was invited to the MTV Awards of the Philippines, which is called the Mixed Music Awards. And while I was sitting there, my favorite female singer in the Philippines, who I also had a huge crush on, she came and sat next to me. And we were about the same age. I was just maybe like 2 years older than her. And she sat down next to me and we started talking. And I was like, hey, I love your songs. I listen to your songs. And I started singing one of her songs for her. And she was like, wow, how do you know that song? You're so old. Because younger people are more likely to listen to her music. And that moment really made everything clear for me. And in Asia, a lot of people are much more blunt when it comes to kind of saying what they think about the way other people look. And that moment and a few others kind of made the decision for me that I didn't want to be a bald guy. And even after only my first hair transplant, when I still looked pretty bald, but I had a much better hairline, I noticed a huge difference in the way girls were reacting to me, and a difference in my entertainment career with how people reacted to me in general. And I have definitely made all of my money back just from the extra gigs that I've gotten and extra opportunities that I've gotten, even after spending thousands and thousands of dollars on hair transplants. It's definitely paid off for me just in terms of gigs and opportunities that I've gotten. So it was definitely a good investment, though I could have bought a really nice new car with all the money that I spent on my hair. I started this channel, Hair Loss Hope, because I do want all of you guys out there to realize that you don't have to be a bald guy. Even in a worst case scenario, and you just decide to get a wig, you'll still look like a guy with hair. The wigs look good enough nowadays that you can look like a guy with hair if you want to. Some of the most famous, successful actors in the world and musicians in the world wear wigs. And they're huge celebrities with tons of adoring fans. So even a worst case scenario, if you get a wig, you still will look like you have hair. And you can really be and do anything you want with your look. You don't have to be the bald guy. Yes, confidence will take you pretty far. And you can be bald. And if you like being bald and you're happy with that, and it does work for a lot of guys and it's great, it probably would have worked for me if I wasn't in the entertainment business. I would have just stuck with that. And you can also be a bald guy. But just because you want to have hair doesn't mean that you're not a confident person. You can be just as confident and wear a wig. You can be just as confident and be bald. You can be just as confident and have hair transplants. I know guys who have all of their hair who have no confidence, so it wouldn't really matter either way. But confidence and having hair and not having hair really shouldn't have too much to do with each other. Hair should just be a choice that you make or don't make. So on the subject of having hair versus being bald, personally, I will never be a bald guy, I've decided. If all of my hair fell out right now, I would go get a wig. That's what I would do, because I like the way people react to me better when I have hair. And personally, I like the way that I look better when I have hair. So that's what I would do. The most important thing is understanding that it's your choice. That just because you're losing all of your hair doesn't mean that's the end. You can use preventative treatments. You can get a hair transplant. You can wear a wig. There are lots of other things coming on the way, different medical treatments that they're working on, hair cloning, and all these things that really, a few years from now, there's a good chance that they'll show up. But in the meantime, do something about what you can do now. And there are options. If you're just losing a little bit of hair and you don't want to do any of those things, then get some good concealer, and you'll instantly look like you have a very thick head of hair. So there are options. There's always options, fortunately, if you're going bald. So personally, I like having hair, and I've noticed a big difference in the way people react to me. But at the end of the day, it's all about what's inside yourself and what you feel that you need, and deciding to act on the way that you feel. Not in a rash way, not in a, oh, I'm gonna go down the street to the nearest butcher shop and get a hair transplant, but in a rational way, taking the knowledge that you can gain from excellent YouTube videos out there and from talking to different patients and surgeons, and then making a decision on what you wanna do. Good luck, guys.